That's right. Stop blaming residential schools, Canadian Aboriginals. Alcohol is the problem. Everybody knows it. You know it. We know it. Let's just start talking about it. I'm Michele Tittler from the political organization and race-based law. And we want to remove Section 35 of the Constitution, which gives one race inherent special rights. And we want to abolish the Indian Act, which in and of itself is racist. This is about residential schools and how sick and tired I am, so many people are, of listening to the exaggerated stories and the lies that are being told about the residential schools, and the drama and the histrionics, the overreaction, and the slander, the defamation slander towards Canada and all the people who worked in residential schools and participated in them. And all the innocent taxpayers who've had to pay for this extortion from this Indian industry of blame. It's December 16th, 2015. In Winnipeg, Judge Wanda Garrick said she could not ignore the disadvantaged background of the Aboriginal offender, which included physical and emotional abuse, neglect, and substance abuse from the age of 9. He has been directly and indirectly impacted by the fallout of the residential school era, Garrick said. It is the impact on his family, filtered down to him, that contributed to his substance abuse issues, perhaps his cognitive deficits and his anger management issues. They do not excuse in any way his behavior or explain it entirely. They are simply factors that are present. Oh, really? This Aboriginal man in Winnipeg was 28 years old, and he raped his girlfriend so severely she almost bled to death. There is a huge puddle of blood. After he raped her and she was unconscious, he threw her in the shower to wash her off, and then he raped her again. I don't remember any courses in the residential school being taught. Rape 101 was not a course in residential school. There is no way for this judge to know that this guy raped his girlfriend because someone somewhere in his family went to school. The same school system we all went to. The same boarding school system my mother went to boarding school in. The same boarding schools the Duke of Wars went to. The same boarding schools that the English kids went to. We've since that time learned how to be a little nicer to kids in terms of how to teach them and encourage them to learn. This is a whole learning process that the whole world has been going through. It isn't a race thing. For the Aboriginals, and in particular Chief Justice Murray Sinclair, to continue to blame innocent people who are not his race for what has happened to everybody in life itself, is absolutely heinous. It's horrible what he's doing. It isn't just heinous to the innocent people, it's heinous to his own people. For him to perpetuate this story and these lies to such an extraordinary extent that they completely encompass the entire history of residential schools, when it's not true. We at Race-Based Law, our researcher Jerry Gagnon has done superb research. It didn't take him very long, however. There were books written by Aboriginals who went to residential schools who had great experiences. The majority had positive experiences. But what Chief Justice Murray Sinclair is doing, because he's got a chip on his shoulder, a very racist, bigoted, bitter, hate-filled, hate-inciting, extortion-exciting chip on his shoulder, he only wants to concentrate on the bad stories. And you know, if we all did that about everything in life, well, we might be committing suicide too. Their suicide rates are higher than anybody else's per capita in the world. That's saying something, and it's not residential schools. Those schools closed 30 years ago. When the nuns first got here, they recorded an incest problem. That incest problem still exists today. You'd think that Justice Murray Sinclair, in his 100 million recommendations that Canada should do to pay them back for having to go to school like we all went to school, he wants monuments all across this country. But he's not going to put up monuments about the incest problem. And that's going on still today. The alcohol problem, the substance abuse, beating up women. I just heard from yet another Aboriginal woman, an elder woman yesterday, who she is homeless with her 3 grandsons. I guess The children are having their problems. I didn't ask her. She didn't tell me. I understand substance abuse. I never put it down. It's shocking to me that Justice Murray Sinclair and all of these leaders and race baiters in the Indian industry in and of itself, and the CBC and Star TV and everybody complying with this bullshit about the residential schools, while people are dying because they won't deal with their own problems. Another 11-month-old child was killed yesterday. Her mother killed her in a Cree reserve. And we're supposed to all not talk about that. Well, I'm going to talk about the incest, and I'm going to talk about the abuse, and I'm going to talk about you owning your own stuff. Because the more that you blame Canada and the more you extort off innocent taxpayers, the less you're dealing with the reality of your problem. By bullying our country for an inquiry into your missing and murdered women is absolutely hideous. You are murdering them. With this constant dialogue of all we ever are is victims. We were raped, we were raped, we were raped. I heard this woman on the Toronto Star the other day. She was absolutely white skin, blonde hair, talking about how the residential schools made Native kids eat their own vomit. She said that in a blanketed statement. I checked her out. She went to law school. This law school person was repeating lies, total lies. We know what we're talking about. We've done our research. There are no true stories that we've ever heard of, and you don't start saying that that's what happened as a rule, as a standard at residential schools. And that's the way this whole thing has gone down. It's hideous what you're doing to us, Justice Murray Sinclair, and you're going to stop. Here are our recommendations, because believe it or not, you misappropriate our language and you misuse our words all the time. So I'm going to teach you something here. All of you, listen to me carefully. The word reconciliation means two parties. And here is what you're going to do to reconcile with Canada. You are going to implement programs for not drinking during pregnancy from coast to coast, north, south, east, west. Every single native in this country is going to get the message. The same way they got the bogus lying message from the United Nations about how only they could save the earth. You hit every corner. We know it. We heard from them. You're going to hit every corner, and you're going to tell them all that the campaign is to stop drinking during pregnancy and to explain to them why. Give them the scientific evidence and tell them that this is crucial, critical to the survival of their people in the future. That there is nothing more important. That no amount of suing and extorting and blaming off of people that are not their race are going to save your culture. You have to stop drinking during pregnancy, period. Stop drinking. Those monuments across Canada, I want them replaced. These are my recommendations, Sinclair, so listen carefully. I want them replaced with AA meetings all across the country. And I want natives by the truckloads to come into those meetings, or to get those meetings onto those reserves, and to get counselors and therapy onto those reserves, to get the RCMP onto those reserves when women are raped and when children are raped, to get social services onto those reserves to teach people about abuse issues, to get some cooperation from your people, to stop suing us for taking your children and then turning around and killing your children and your women, and then blaming Canada for not saving you, and then suing us for taking children away. It's craziness. We pay attention to the stories. Every day you are getting Canada coming and going. Blame, 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 blame. Your entire culture has no concept of the word accountability. You are going to learn it. Before I die, oh my God, every native in this country is going to learn the word accountability. You know why? Because I care. And that's the truth. This is your Merry Christmas from Michele Tittler. Stop raising your children to be blaming against just a blanket enemy that happens to not be your race. You call it white, but we don't know what the hell that is. You call it colonialism, nobody else is suffering from it but you. It's all in your head, it's your hatred. It's your hatred, it's your racism, it's this whole assimilation thing. The natives who are doing well are the ones who assimilated. All the people, all the creatures, all the DNA on this earth are doing well because they assimilated. That is just a part of life. If you can't assimilate and make it work with the people around you, then it's your problem, nobody else's. It's not the residential schools that were closed decades ago. There's a girl named Malal Yousafzai, she's Muslim, from Pakistan, who got shot in the head by the Taliban in 2012 for wanting an education for girls. People are willing to die to get an education, and look at you, the only group of people in the entire world who are suing because they got an education, who are lying because they got an education, who are abusing people and defaming them and slandering them because they got an education. No matter how many times people say, oh sorry, we're really sorry that you went to school and everybody else did, but nobody else seems to be having the same problems. You're milking it for all it's worth. And what you're not willing to look at is your own issues. The one discerning difference, the one discerning factor, the difference between you guys, Canadian natives, and everybody else who went to the same school system is your blame game, is your isolation, You are isolated on those reserves, and that's where all that stuff goes down. And it's your culture. The nuns recorded incest when they first got here, and it's still here, okay? So that's your problem, and you have to start dealing with it. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody made that 28-year-old boy rape that girl. No such thing. 9 years old with a substance abuse problem, that is your culture's problem. You would have had those problems whether you went to school or not, because alcohol was still invented. And stop blaming white people for that too. Just get to work on your issues. It is pathetic. It's shameful. You're a grown man, Justice Murray Sinclair. I saw you at the Truth and Reconciliation tour in Vancouver. For your information, reconciliation means two parties. And so here are my recommendations, and that's the way it's going to be. You guys are going to start dealing with your substance abuse problems and drinking during pregnancy. There's nothing more important than dealing with your drinking during pregnancy. Nothing. Our culture has dealt with it, and no, your culture is going to too. It's going to be a big campaign. You, instead of blaming Canada for everything, you're going to turn around, you're going to do, instead of idle no more marches about how you're going to save the earth, you're going to turn around and do marches about how you're going to stop drinking during pregnancy, because that's the beginning and the end and the middle of all your problems. And they're never going to end. Now stop it, stop it, stop it. You're killing people. You're killing people with this behavior, with this blame. It's a blame so lethal, so racist, so wrong. You're lying. You lie like crazy. And we've heard the lies. It's just absolutely horrible how much lying there is going on. It's killing you. It's killing your people, and you have to stop. Say thank you for the residential school. Say thank you for the education. You should be really grateful for it. I mean, you are now asking for the money for education still. And so what are you going to sue our children and our grandchildren for that too? It's horrible. You've actually developed a culture of racist extortion. It's a mafioso setting. And all the good Aboriginals who work hard in this country, they're embarrassed, but they can't say anything because they're beholden to their culture too. But these troublemakers, Justice Murray Sinclair, Stuart Phillip, Derek Nepanak, all these guys, they're just, the AFN, the entire Assembly of First Nations, these chiefs, they're the trouble. That's the trouble. That's the enduring problem. We have to all just start saying it and standing up for grassroots Aboriginals and for innocent taxpayers. I really care about you grassroots Aboriginals, whether you hate me or not. And I'm doing this for you, and I'm doing this for you women. Who that woman yesterday that I talked to who didn't have a home because her chief was an asshole, as she told me, and whose family got everything. We hear that story over and over and over again. Chiefs and their family get everything. And you can be outed. You can actually be homeless. It's not okay in Canada that our Aboriginal elder grandmas are homeless when they're taking care of their 3 grandsons. It's just not okay. So this is for you, sweetie. And everybody else out there, all you girls who are getting molested, this is for you. All you women who are getting beaten up and your voices aren't being heard, this is for you. Merry Christmas.